what I saw in this is that not only do not die, it is one of the most ridiculous concepts that a spiritual being can ever think. It's ridiculous. How do you kill a spiritual being? It can't happen. Okay.
Right.
So once you discover that there is a process, because I was dead for 28 minutes.
Yes.
And then resuscitated. And then I've had 3 more near-death experiences. And the last one in 2018, they had to resuscitate me 3 times. So I have a pretty good understanding of the process of how you leave this world, and 45 years as a hospice volunteer, what happens in palliative and end-of-life care.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Blessings to all of you. Thank you for tuning in to Take Back Your Mind, the podcast that is about you becoming a sovereign being, you realizing that you're not a victim, that you can exercise, you can take back your mind, you can allow for your perception to be populated with gratitude and thanksgiving and dynamic appreciation, and basically not get caught up in the downward spiral of fear, doubt, and worry. Thus, creating a filter over your perception and seeing life as it states scripturally through a glass darkly. That's not for you. You just see life pristine. It's for you and never against you. I am your host, Michael B. Beckwith, the founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center. And today we have a life question from Kaya. She's from Washington, D.C. She says, I've heard you say that the universe wants to experience life as me and through me. What does that mean exactly? Does this mean that as I am on my path, living my life purpose and exercising my talents, the universe is there seeing and experiencing it through how I feel and see it? I've hesitated to ask this question because others seem to get it. But I must ask so that I continue to emerge and wake up. Listen, actually what I say is that the universal presence wants to know itself as each and every one of us. What does that mean? This universal presence, the supreme intelligence, the divine life itself, that's consciousness, that is conscious of itself, is omnipresent. It means everywhere. It's omniscient. It's all-knowing. It's omniactive, meaning that it's the energy behind everything that's evolving and unfolding. Okay? So this presence knows itself. Each and every one of us are individuals. What does that mean? Individual means undivided. We're all unique individual expressions of the omnipresence, the omnipotent, the only power. So that we each represent a field of infinite potential and surrounded by infinite possibilities. So you are the only you that will ever exist. I'm the only me that will ever exist. Even in this multi-dimensional, even possible parallel universes where there may be other expressions of us, there'll still only be one of me and one of you. So the universal presence wants to know itself as Michael. Michael's choices, Michael's unfoldment, Michael's generosity, Michael's creativity, Michael's kindness, Michael's compassion, the way I curate that, as opposed to the way somebody else may do it. So though that the presence of God is omniscient, all-knowing, it wants to know itself as my life. So, Kaya, the presence of God wants to know itself as your life. Yes, your giftedness, your talents, what you develop within yourself. Another way of saying it is, it comes into its own as you. Oh, you know what's beautiful? There's so many tests that people take. They take IQ tests, they take EQ tests, emotional quotient. They take all kinds of tests. But those tests are snapshots of an individual, where they are in a particular place and how good they can take a test. But you know what they can't measure? Potential. Those tests can never measure someone's potential. Your potential is infinite. So as you come into your own, that's the infinite presence knowing itself as your life. And the only thing that can prevent that potential from being activated is you. So yes, God wants to know itself as your life. The universal presence wants to know itself as your life. It wants to know itself as activated potential, as Michael, as Kaya, as all the beings that are tuning in right now, watching Take Back Your Mind. Let us not leave this planet one day before we activate more and more and more of our potential, which is infinite. Have a bright day. In just a moment, we're going to invite Brother Dannion Brinkley to come forth. He'll be hailing from someplace around the United States. We're going to do it on the Zoom because he's not in Los Angeles. But you're going to love my friend and my colleague, Dannion Brinkley. We'll be right back. Peace and blessings, everyone, and welcome back to Take Back Your Mind. I am your host, Michael B. Beckwith, the founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center, the author of Spiritual Liberation, Life Visioning, and a number of other books as well. And as I said earlier, I have my friend Dannion Brinkley with me this morning, a beautiful brother that has a wonderful story of unfoldment of his own consciousness. If you don't know who this brother is, first of all, he's not just a colleague, he's a brother, and he's a friend. And so let me just tell you a little bit about him, and then we're going to begin our conversation. International New York Times best-selling author of the inspirational book series. Check this out. The Secrets of the Light, Saved by the Light, and at Peace in the Light. After Dannion experienced his first lightning strike and nearly died in total, he has survived 4 brushes with death. He radically changed his life and became a hospice and nursing home volunteer, which he has been doing for over 43 years. He's been at the bedside of over 2,000 people going from this world to the next, and has been with over 350 as they were taking their last breath, and making him an expert in the transition process. As a matter of fact, Dannion put some of our wonderful hospice workers here at Agape through a training a number of years ago. He has volunteered for over 35 years in the VA hospitals across America. He's the co-founder of the Twilight Brigade, an organization dedicated to no veteran dying alone. He's loved and respected worldwide for his inspirational lectures on near-death experience, palliative and hospice care, and integrative healing practices. Check this out. Since 1997, Dannion has worked diligently to integrate energetic, conventional, and integrative therapies in modern-day protocols. He has received dozens of awards for his achievements in volunteer service, including the President's Lifetime Achievement Award for Outstanding Volunteer Service. His amazing story and insights have earned him appearances on numerous international TV and radio shows, including Oprah, Larry King, CNN, Unsolved Mysteries, the BBC, and more. His life experience has taught him, check this out, he's going to talk about this, no one dies, and that every breath matters. I remember the first time I saw you, Dannion, you were on, it might have been Jerry Springer, I can't remember. I didn't know you at the time. But Dannion, you had you, and they had these 2 other quote unquote psychics, and they were asking questions. You interrupted them. You said, wait a minute. And you began to explain how this, we were interviewing a woman, she had died, and you broke down how the person had died, where the person had hidden the information, where it was found, and how this lady was passing by the person who knew about the death every single day. You just broke everything open with your great intuitive awareness. I said, who is this guy? And then later on, we met each other. But for those who don't know, man, what happened when you died and you got struck by lightning? Welcome. First of all, welcome to Take Back Your Mind, brother.
What causes and creates the future is our habits. What your habits are, and what America's habits are, what the world's habits are our future, just like in the Ukraine. But when you go from being a tough guy, grew up in the South, bad sports, Marine Corps, government ops. You grew up in all of that.
That was you. You're describing yourself. I want people to know you're describing yourself. Yes.
Exactly. And then you get struck by lightning and you discover you are a spiritual being and you have nowhere to go. Nowhere. No escape. There was never any such thing as the near-death experience. Raymond Moody had not written his landmark book. It didn't have a name, but it happened to me. And what I come away from that, Michael, with is that we are all here are spiritual beings. But not only that, everybody who made it to this dimension at this time is a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose. All spiritual beings have dignity, direction, and purpose, but only a very small proportion of them can bear the title great, mighty, and powerful. Even the worst of us is a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being. And you come here to birth and create an age. And so what I saw in this is that not only do we do not die, it is one of the most ridiculous concepts that a spiritual being can ever think. It's ridiculous. How do you kill a spiritual being? It can't happen. Okay?
Right.
So once you discover that there is a process, because I was dead for 28 minutes.
Yes.
And then resuscitated. And then I've had 3 more near-death experiences: open heart surgery, brain surgery, and open heart surgery. Never given a chance to survive. Never. And the last one in 2018, they had to resuscitate me 3 times. So I have a pretty good understanding of the process of how you leave this world, and 45 years as a hospice volunteer, what happens in palliative and end-of-life care. Why? I have always said, Michael, and you know this, the battle for the souls of humankind would be fought in healthcare. I've said it in 1976 that was the place, so I integrated my life into healthcare and hospice and palliative care for veterans, because I understand what a veteran thinks.
Right.
And I also know what's next. And I know what happens to the family who has to stay behind.
Yes.
Well, based on what we just recently went through, the pandemic, I wrote and described it in box 12 in Saved by the Light 28 years ago.
Right. Before you say that, tell them what the boxes are and how they came to you.
When I was struck by lightning, put in the ambulance, went down a tunnel, met by a being, had a panoramic life review, which is the single most important thing that anyone can take from the near-death experience. And then I went to this cathedral, this place built of light and color, and I was met by 12 beings and then a 13th being. And the 13th being was up to the right, and it literally designated these illuminated beings, and it would designate one, not in order, and that being would open up just in radiance till was nothing but that being I could see, and it would transmit this information to me like I would say it was like a laptop is what I would describe it as today, but I didn't know what a laptop was in 1975. Mm-hmm. And I would see these series of events. If you look at the boxes of knowledge that I wrote down in 76 and then put in Saved by the Light in 1993, it's about a 97% accuracy. Chernobyl, Fukushima, the environmental religion, which is now climate change, and the pandemic. I described it in detail. Why? Because it becomes the 12th box. That is the end. The series of visions ran to 2025. Okay, that was the end of the cycle of where everybody has to get the good guys and the bad guys and the in-between guys. Everybody has to have their mindset in place of what their belief system is and how they go about honoring that belief system by what will occur in 2025. All right, so I decided that if the battle for the souls of humankind would be fought in healthcare, we just experienced the perfect example of how the battle for souls of humankind, when you cannot go see your mom and dad who are dying because you might kill them. There is something insane about that because I'm a hospice volunteer.
Right.
So I believe that where we are as spiritual beings, we're at the precipice of birthing an age. And everything around us is set to try to confuse us. Some of it perpetrated, Michael, designed, because the days of reckoning are here. And the spiritual being and I call them Sabbateans, they all know the same things.
Right.
And whoever can get one on the other side to control the mindset and to create the beliefs of truth, okay, what's best for you is what's at stake. So when you're doing this program, I know death backwards and forwards.
Yes.
I have been dead myself and survived, and because I understand certain things about the human being. The human being is a spiritual being first.
Yes.
You are a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose. That means there's only one thing that can ever go wrong in your life, and that you allow something to affect your dignity, which skews your direction and your purpose. And the human being is subject to that based out of fear or gratification. There's those two power positions that gratifies or it frightens.
Gratification be the same as love, something that you love, you're grateful for, or pleasure?
Pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah, gratification. When gratification comes in many forms.
Right.
If it's narcissistic or sociopsychopathic or murderer or a savior of Mother Teresa.
Compassion.
Gratification, yeah, I mean, gratification for me is helping a veteran go from one world to the next and to be able to support the family system as it deals with something I'm celebrating, somebody going home. And a family that stays behind in a confused state of understanding the nature of what is next, as opposed to finite or control manipulation.
Right. Right.
Nobody dies.
Right.
It will never happen. All you have to think about then is this: forever just got a whole lot longer.
Let me ask you this. You talk about the days of the reckoning. Sometimes I'll describe it as, the vibrational frequency of the planet, the expansion of the universe has made everything more transparent now. Old systemic ways of being in the world can be seen through now, and they're starting to disintegrate. And then the emergence of that which is real and eternal is coming into what we might call a new age. And we're in that, I call it a fluxed up state. Everything is fluxed up. We're in a state of flux between the old dying and the new being born. So what you're describing is the end of an age, and the end of the old power structures, even though they know they can't win. And then the birth of the new. And so for those who know that they're spiritual beings and are begin to place their attention on the truth that they are spiritual beings and live according to that, then they're vibrating at the now. They're vibrating at the new. They don't succumb to the fear and the worry and the anxiety that many people are succumbing to because they think death is real and they think that they're just a human being only. Am I framing your words properly?
You're 100% correct. This is, if the battle for the souls of humankind was going to be fought in healthcare, and Michael, this is something they told me. This is not, and these boxes of knowledge are not my prophecies. About whether I can read minds and talk to the dead, and whether I can do all those big hyped up things, without any question that absolutely that's true. And I've done it on television and took on the best they had. They're all funny. Spiritual beings have the gifts of the spirit.
Right.
And if you live a certain way, which is the goal we're trying to get to, the Sabbateans are trying to take you the control of your spiritual identity and trap it into a human thought pattern.
Right.
That way they can control, manipulate, frighten you, or gratify you.
Right.
It's that lower level of satisfaction or fear.
Right.
Whereas heightening and taking back your mind and knowing that they're trying to control that. They're trying to control your connection between you and who you really are and what you're really doing here. What everybody wants to know, what's their purpose in life? Okay?
Right.
But there is something in the near-death experience called the panoramic life review.
Yeah.
Everybody who has a real near-death experience has one of those. And it will be basically the focal point of their conversation in telling their story. This is how, when you're listening to somebody tell their near-death experience, you listen for this, you'll see whether it really is or it's really not.
Mm-hmm.
You will see your entire life pass before you in a 360-degree panorama. You will have missed nothing.
Nothing.
You would know how many hairs was in the nose of the doctor who pulled you from your mother. Okay? You would know everything going on. You'd know every leaf on every tree. Okay? Then you will watch yourself from a second person point of view as though you were your own best friend, where when you see how stupid something you did, and it's your best friend pointing it out to you, it's friends. It's, they're there with you.
Uh-huh.
And then you literally become every person that you have ever encountered. And you feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person.
You see the ramifications of your thought, words, and deeds with everyone that you encounter and the ripple effect of all of that.
And you become them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
It's not what you thought happened. It's what really happened.
So it's not just your limited perception. You actually have a total experience of you and the ripple of everything you did and how it affected everybody else and how that affected everyone else. You see the total ripple of how you lived your life.
And no one gets away with anything.
Right.
You're going to be everybody, and no one gets away with it. The worst part about that, Michael, is 4 times. It doesn't just pick up where you left off the last. The near-death experience doesn't just pick up where it left off. It goes from birth all the way through.
Right.
Because you're judging you.
Right.
And then this question, if God couldn't come today and God sent you, in the life you just reviewed, what difference did you and God make? Now, that's Dannion's way of saying it.
Yeah.
Okay? But that's what's being conveyed.
Yeah.
You are the difference the divine makes. Okay?
Right.
Because you're functioning here every day thinking you are an assimilated part of something that doesn't exist. There is no physical matter. It doesn't exist.
Right.
It does not. It's all energy, and it can be measured as energy.
Yes.
It's not some story that Disney's come up with. This is quantum dynamics. We have equipment that can measure it.
Right.
See it. Even now, they have equipment that measures the auric field that emanates from around your body that people have been talking about for 10,000 years.
Yes.
Well, now the Russians can measure the damn thing.
Right.
So
Right.
everybody gets funny about whether they're a spiritual being or not. Okay? Then you say, okay, well, if I'm a spiritual being and I'm not going to die, then what am I doing here?
Yes.
You were chosen to come here because you had reached the status of great, powerful, and mighty. Words in a dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
You had reached that status. So that means that you could practice being a god at a certain period in the evolution of consciousness and hold that level while practicing being a god. Well, how would you do that? Well, you'd make a list of everything that you think God is: loving, caring, compassionate, all-knowing, protective, wise, all of that. Then you put the pen down and you take a deep breath and you look at the list you just wrote and you think of how often per day do you have an opportunity to do or be one or more of those things you put on the list. The answer will be all day, every day.
All day long.
All day, every day, you get a chance to be all the things you hope and pray God is.
Yeah.
Okay. So then a person just designs their life in that.
Right.
You find a cause. I found hospice because death is, to think that I'm going to die is ridiculous.
Right.
It's silly.
Right.
Okay.
We're bringing the eternal into time through our life, not as a question mark. We are the exclamation points of all of these qualities of the presence. I like that exercise, labeling or all that God is, and they say, how am I going to be this today?
But think about this too. When you take that first breath, Michael, the divine breathes it in with you.
Yeah.
And the divine breathes out with you.
Yeah.
Okay? What people, if you think about God, you can move around and you can feel air. You can't see it or any of that, but you can't function without it. And
Right.
you have to breathe. Well, if you imagine that the divine was air, and how deep are the breaths you're taking? Okay, so that shows you what's limiting you in your ability to realize your spiritual self in this new evolutionary age. You're
Right.
not breathing deep enough. So you get scared, anxiety, tension. All those things come. Why? It shortens the breath that you breathe. So the first thing you want to do as a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being in dignity, direction, and purpose is teach your ass to breathe. And then to set aside where you breathe, that's nothing but gratitude, and you do it a couple of minutes a day.
Yeah.
So that it's gratitude. You're breathing in all that you see, and you're breathing out, and you give the divine consciousness a structural, psychological dynamic in your intention.
Right.
That's gratitude to move through your breath into this world and manifest miracles.
Yes.
That's what collective prayer is. That's what holding a meditative state does. And the intention becomes, I can get up from the dead, Michael.
Yes, you have.
Anybody,
you have a few times.
And anybody can talk to my doctors and watch all that baffling, watch all that, because I understand the nature of being a spiritual being. I have my spiritual cause, which is hospice, because the battle of the souls of humankind will be fought there. And we're about to see the second battle. Here it comes again, because they just measure and pace us.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't blame them. That's called a war of attrition to win. Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't blame them for choosing that side. I just blame us for not standing up like we know better.
Right.
If there's anybody that's on Agape that's listening to this, I know Agape. I've been around Agape 20 years.
You've been around longer than 20 years. You've been around long. You had our Revelation conferences many years ago, too.
I mean, and if you're listening to this, you're on the right path, everybody. Mm-hmm. But you got to stop being afraid of being who you are.
Yeah.
Because
you got to come out the closet with your spiritual strength and your spiritual identity. Because
who you are scares the hell out of them. Mm-hmm. Okay, it is you that is the power. It is not them, because falsehoods and deception does not win. It doesn't. And
no, it can't. A lie can't win.
And so the fun part about where people are is over death.
Yeah.
And people have to remember this, Michael. Let's say that the whole story of killing off 2/3 or all that stuff we've been hearing since the John Birch Society was true, and all the ways in which they were going to do it, and foods and spray in the air and in the water and all that stuff, all of that was going to be true. Then you think about all of the grief, bereavement, and suffering that those who stay behind have to go through.
Yeah.
That's their goal. Okay, and then you look at it from who is their target. Well, our age group, baby boomers, and those born just before us, we're 72.3 million Americans. We are a third of the population. And we're heading down that path, either because it's a natural process or because you didn't take as good a care of yourself as you should have, or your time is done. You may have achieved what you were sent here to do, and you may not have ever recognized it because you didn't write it down on a piece of paper and look at it, okay? Because I keep my things that I have gratitude for, I carry it with me. I have it in my billfold. I take it out. I give my 3 minutes 3 times a day. I breathe and gratitude as deep as I can and as far out as I can breathe, and hold that place. So the kind of grief and trauma and bereavement, that being afraid of death and that unknowing, is how they're going to control the battle for the souls.
But perfect love casts out all fear. So you're talking about when you're in that love vibration, you can't be in fear at the same time. One thing I noticed about you, I've noticed it years ago, whenever you meet somebody, you embrace them with this big hug, if they allow it, and you just love up on them. You just exude all of this love because you know that is God, and you know that's what you're going to meet. You're going to meet all of that love that you've given out.
No, I'm going to hug myself.
Yes.
Michael, watch. Here's my hug, okay? My hug is, if I'm going to be every person that I ever encounter, and I'm going to feel the direct results of my interaction between me and them, then the first thing they're going to get is a hug.
Right.
So when I go to the next life, I'm going to be hugging the crap out of myself, okay?
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Okay, so that's very first, because I know I'm going to get to hug me, and I'm going to hold them, and I'm going to love the absolute fire out of them so that I get that place. Second, I can move in that field of energy. That field of energy, as I move and embrace you. And in that field of energy, I understand the frequencies and tones. And as you breathe in, I breathe out. And as I breathe out, that person breathes in, and I set up that synchronistic wave. And I can hold them and know so much about them without them ever speaking to me. I can enter that level of consciousness and perceive information about them. I mean, I'm famous for it, but it's an art form that comes with recognizing you're a spiritual being and taking your main purpose in life, practicing being a God, okay? And then the other reason, 2 reasons, was try to figure out interesting things to get into in this life. How do I grow in this life? And then you have to put limits. I don't want to become the love guru. I don't want to have a 500-foot yacht, but somewhere in the middle, I want to experience those kinds of adventures in life.
Right. We're in this particular phase of transition. Are you living in optimism? I mean, you have a lot of doom and gloom kind of people out here, but where do you live with all of the changes that are going on the planet and within the systemic structures of our society and the great changes? Where do you live in this?
I fight the battle for the souls of humankind. I'm still in palliative and end-of-life care. Anybody who read Saved by the Light knows that the ultimate goal of me is the center project, which is being able to allow people to escape their physical self using frequencies, harmonics, and a system given to me. I wrote it in Saved by the Light, which has sold millions and millions of copies. But I had to wait till I hit box 12. I've been at this 48 years, Michael.
Right.
You can kill me, and I've never moved a day from the goals. Never. Right. So I am amazed at how much I understand based on the boxes of knowledge 1 through 12, and watched how we have unfolded based on the knowledge given to me. And watched even more amazing that I get a chance to live at a time and a period when a whole revolution of consciousness is being birthed in this dimension of reality.
Yeah.
And I am as important in it as it itself.
Yeah.
And that's every one of us. I just know it because I have seen how it operates, and I watched the things that in the early years, about Chernobyl and the collapse of the Soviet Union,
Right.
years before it,
Right.
and watched how it happened. Not that it just happened and another one of these visions came through, but how did it occur?
Right.
Okay. What were the mechanisms that caused it to occur? Because that's been the learning lesson. I'm so happy to be alive. I don't know what to do with myself. And am I in pain? Absolutely. And am I dying? Ain't no question about it. There's no question about it. But am I having fun doing it? There is no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, you're always beaming and glowing with this presence that you have embraced by when you went over to the other side and found out you was you. Absolutely.
When you know you don't die, you don't go to hell. Life just gets to be entertaining, Michael.
I
What are you gonna
understand.
do?
Listen, I
What are you
understand.
gonna do? Kill me?
What was fringed 40 years ago is now central. And now, as you indicated with the quantum dynamics and quantum physics and quantum reality, they're breaking down what we've been teaching from a mystical point of view for years. I was telling somebody the other day that quantum reality and mysticism have the same author, divine intelligence. One's writing scientifically and one's writing mystically and spiritually, but it's the same author saying the same thing with different language, just like somebody speaking Chinese and someone speaking English, someone speaking quantum and someone speaking mysticism, but it's the same thing,
But mysticism is far more precious than quantum.
Oh yeah, well, mysticism is the real deal. Yeah.
Quantum is always trying to make it material or matter. There is no such thing as matter.
Right.
Okay.
If you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, because you go far deep enough, it's all energy.
That's
information.
That is completely no way around.
Right.
That today, 2023, that even the types of medicines that they are creating to put in your body, that they have many names for them, are programmable pieces of technology.
To control you.
Well, for a lot of reasons, but
I'm gonna let you talk a little bit more about that, but I just want to say this. You said this 20 years ago at a Revelation conference at Agape. You talked about what's going on now 20 years ago. You talk about people putting chips in their body, and you talked about all manner of things that we're now watching manifest. You talked about it years ago.
Yeah, I wrote it down in 1976, Michael.
Yeah.
I wrote it down in 1976 because, look, I believe that whoever comes and gives people a solid basis on that there is a life after death wins.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be me, but I wanted to be a lot of people who've come this path because it was allopathic medicine that brought me back.
Yeah.
It wasn't God. It was cardiopulmonary resuscitation techniques and the love of close friends.
Yes.
That brought me back. But it's integrative medicine that keeps me alive. There's no question.
Yeah.
So who brought me back was advancements in science.
Yes.
Cardiopulmonary resuscitation.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, like I always say, the only difference between God and a doctor is God never thinks he's a doctor. So,
but doctors think they're God.
Okay. All right. So what God decided to do was send a herd of us back, Michael, so that they had to explain away us. Okay. Some go into the black zone. I had hand surgery and it was black. I've had ablations done on my back and out for 20 minutes and I wake up. Okay. I know the difference between a real experience and some hallucinatory or some way. And I've been with people resuscitated, and I've been with thousands of people on their way from this world to the next. So the part that becomes so wondrous about it is when people stop long enough, the fact that death is a lie.
Yeah.
It's a complete fabricated lie. And today, it is that bond that keeps people from realizing their spirituality when they're in grief and bereavement because they lost someone they loved.
Mm-hmm.
And who do they blame for it? Who's going to be the blame for the massive amount of population reduction that we're occurring?
Well, you know,
if you look at the CDC numbers,
yeah,
and you look at the you look at British numbers,
right,
and you look at the 7 other basic countries in Europe, you have 22 million new deaths.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. I was reading where in 2015 it was the first time that the longevity rate went down for the population. It's the first time that it actually has started going backwards from 2015, so that there's something going on, that people aren't living as long as they used to live. Even with all these so-called advancements of science, the life expectancy has gone down since 2015. Why?
The battle for the souls of humankind will be fought in healthcare.
Yeah.
Okay. That system is the system.
Mm-hmm.
So how the divine does, you have a war in the Ukraine, and it's the consciousness of the 30s.
Yeah.
And you have the programming nature of you as a human being controlling a human being that has a secondary purpose of blocking your spiritual frequency access.
Talk about that.
Okay. The divine operates at a certain frequency. When you take the first breath in this body has to be taken care of and maintained like mama took care of it till it got out here. Has to eat the right stuff, has to think the right thoughts, has to stay in gratitude. And every moment is a blessing. Every moment is a gift to make a difference and to be an opportunity. If you frighten people, it slows down their breathing, so they cut off access to God by stopping breathing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fear is our enemy.
Then they create anxiety.
Yeah.
And then they create depression. Then they create grief and bereavement. Well, the divine self can only hold on a certain amount. It can only deviate. It cannot move outside of those laws. It cannot do it. It can't. So what happens is, if the soul system pulls away, then either that entity or body can be possessed, and there's been a 700% increase in exorcisms in the last 7 years by the Catholic Church, or it passes away.
Mm-hmm. Okay? It's being possessed by the lower frequencies.
Right.
Like the lower astral levels and things that vibrate at a lower frequency enters into or takes over or becomes one with that person, because they've lowered their frequency through fear, doubt, worry, anxiousness, anxiety, depression, etc., which has been curated by mass media, social media, and creating silos of hate.
This is their goal.
Yeah.
Everybody, watch this, Michael. Everybody wants to be us. For a moment, human beings, listen to me. Everybody wants to be us.
Yeah.
They want to, we are, I hate to say it, like, we are a cloned species. Mm-hmm. I hate to put it like that. Clones can't reproduce. You grow a clone and you can grow a body. Okay?
Yeah.
But it can't procreate. We procreate.
Right. We're the image and likeness of God. We've emerged from the eternal.
The divine spark.
Yeah.
Nobody can figure that out, Michael. All those extraterrestrials and interdimensional and reptilians and devil worshippers, none of them can figure out I call it the divine spark.
Yeah.
that we can create, and there's no way it could possibly be, because we have that divine God spark. Slow down your breathing, and you forget gratitude.
Thank you.
You block yourself from the receptions of the levels of consciousness that exist, that function all the time. You just have to hold a vibration or raise yours to get there. And once you're there, yogis do it controlling their breath, and people do exercises and all of that. Everything is about intention and gratitude.
Yes.
Spiritual being is only thankful.
Yes.
How can a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose ever be a victim?
Yes.
How can that possibly happen?
Yes.
Look at the crap I've been through in my life, and I don't think I'm a victim.
Right.
I just think I'm hard-headed, and maybe I just had to keep. Maybe if I was in the battle for the souls of humankind, Michael, and it was in healthcare, I'm an expert in the advancements of healthcare over the last 50 years.
Yep. Yep.
I die on something new every 10 or 15 years. So I get to study the paradigm protocols of the particular medical paradigm that's advanced to now.
Right. I'd like to say there are two kind of reporters. There's the reporter of the old paradigm that we see on the curated news, which isn't really news, it's old. And they're reporting from an old paradigm. And then there are the reporters such as you and me and those that have woken up. We're reporting from the new paradigm. We're reporting from the unseen paradigm. One's reporting from the carcass of something that's dying, and one's reporting from the new of something that's being born. So we're inviting people to come into catching the report, the good news, catching the report from that which is emerging, so that you stay in gratitude, you stay in thanksgiving, you stay in appreciation, you stay in love, you stay in compassion, you stay in generosity, you stay in giving, and then you learn through spiritual practice to stabilize that frequency. Even if you see no physical evidence to be grateful for, then that vibration of gratitude and thanksgiving, it will manifest beyond your present paradigm.
That's the point. The vibration. Gratitude. So when you did two psychological positions on that, gratitude about something they should be, about something going on in their life. And why should I have gratitude? Because blah, 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 blah. Okay. But gratitude allows the divine to move through you into this level of consciousness. Even the law is so specific. There is the law and there is the nature of the law, which is called deviating octaves in the frequency band. Okay, you can measure how much you can deviate the octave before it changes the frequency, And so when you have gratitude, even in the worst moment, and you're taking a deep breath and you're breathing out that gratitude, the divine feels that. And it moves without question.
Yes.
It's not maybe that's going to happen. This is what's going to happen.
Right.
And then the divine can move through that energy, intention, and you might be changing people walking on either side of you. Somebody down the street, somebody in Ethiopia. You don't need to know all that. You just need to know if you do it. I can raise myself from the dead by the practices I have.
Yeah.
I can make this body do things that science can't understand how I make it do it.
Right. Okay. And then you have the cosmic butterfly effect affecting people all over the world that you'll never meet.
Exactly that.
Yeah. I used to say, I still say it, but I'll say back in the day, and maybe everybody can relate to this, your parents might say something like, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. But the universe says, if you don't stop being grateful, I'm going to give you something to be grateful for. So it's the same law. You stand in gratitude by law. The divine will give you more and more to be grateful for, even beyond your wildest imaginings.
And it's written down. It exists. I can defy laws because I understand deviating octaves, okay?
Yeah.
I can understand what prayer I put and what blessing I put on the natural or organic compound I'm putting in my body.
Yeah.
I do not drink, eat, taste, chew anything without being thankful for it. If I'm going to drink a glass of water, it's going to get as many sips as I take. I have gratitude in my heart for it. Eating, if it's on the run, I am so thankful for it. Anything that nutritionalizes me. And then I realize that what makes me uncomfortable, I stay away from.
Yeah.
And do I know it's good for me or not? Not necessarily. But does myself in consciousness know that? Yes.
Right.
People have to trust themselves.
Right.
That person you see in the mirror is not you. It's a compilation of everything you hope everybody's going to like when they see you. That's how
we're formless spiritual beings. So the image and likeness of God is not form. It is we have the ability to think and create the way God does. That's the image and likeness. But we're formless spiritual beings that last forever,
Yeah, you can choose form, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
See, one of the lures, think about this. When they're all hanging down at the angel bar doing heaven shots, right? They're all talking
shots
about
of light.
Yeah, listen, Michael and Gabriel, he put down his horn, one put down the sword, and they're doing angel shots at the cloud bar. They said, well, listen, I got an idea. Let's tell them they can have free will. And everybody says, well, we have free will here. And well, why do I do right? Why? Because it benefits myself and everybody. Why would I do anything else other than that? Well, what if you get a chance to see what happens if it didn't? Wow. Then think of this. Think about this. You can go to a place where you can walk up and hug somebody and hold them and feel your love.
Right.
Because over there, you immerse. You don't feel, you immerse into their pattern and energy and become them.
Yeah. We're all one.
Just like the panoramic life review, you become every single person and you feel the direct results of your interaction. So what was your intention? Not why you did what you did. It's not what you did, it's why you did it.
Intention behind it.
My greatest change in life is my intention.
Yeah.
When I do it, just like when we started this show, where do we want to take people? We want people to take back control of their identity.
Yes.
And let the system prove it wrong. You are a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose. The only thing that can ever really go wrong is you allow something to affect your dignity, fear of death, which skews your direction and your purpose, or the fear of not sufficiently protecting your children or your parents or your friends.
Yeah.
What a perfect trap, Michael.
Right.
Look how perfect that trap is.
Yeah. Well, I tell people, Dannion, don't worry about your loved ones. You can maybe be a little concerned, but love them, hold them in prayer and gratitude, because if you're worrying about them, you're setting up a condition for a psychic connection of something that happened based on your worry. But if you love them and you hold them in prayer and vibration, that's a lot better than being fearful for them. Because if love and fear can't operate in the same frequency, they're two different vibrations. Yeah.
And why you are doing that.
Yeah.
You see, when something goes wrong, let me see how to structure. I always deal with palliative. I'm always end of life, Michael. That's my world.
Yeah, you've been around all these veterans that have passed over.
Thousands.
Sometimes you travel with them to the other side and help them become stabilized in the next dimension. You train some of our One from the Heart people here at Agape how to do that.
Exactly. If I think that's what they need, then I take them over there.
Right.
I don't have any problems. That dimensional reality, the next 3 dimensional realities right now are easily accessible by me. I can access them without any problem. I can go to the perceptive level. I can go to the diagnosis level. I can listen. people have to understand the sound of your voice is your spiritual self.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's voice has a unique sound to it. It can be recorded. They can measure your reality by your voice stress analysis.
Right.
And it's the verb conjugation.
Right.
How a person structures the language of what conjugation they put the verb tells you the action and intent of the conversation.
Right.
I can hear 3 sentences. And I do it for hospice. I can hear 3 sentences and listen to the conversation, and I know what the deal is.
Yeah.
I know where the conversation's going. I know what they're trying to construct and why, because I'm allowed access to that because I live in how to help them.
Right.
You know, mine is not to control and manipulate them, but how do I help them? But
Right.
everybody can do exactly what I do.
Right.
Okay?
You know what? When I'm hearing somebody speak, I can tell you in the first minute whether they know about it or whether they know it. And there are many people that know about it and they have good lecture abilities. They're very articulate, very passionate, very motivational. But I can tell they haven't really been submerged in it yet, but they know all about it. And then someone else can speak and they may not be as articulate, but I know they know it, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always enjoying being around you, because I know the frequency, I know the vibration, you know. So it's always a lot of joy, a lot of harmony, a lot of happiness, because you know it.
And I tell the truth too, Michael.
Yeah.
See, the point of it is I tell the truth. I don't have a problem. If I say you're a spiritual being, that's what you are.
Right.
Because if you weren't the spiritual being, then when I had a panoramic life of you and I had to feel you not being a spiritual being, how dumb do you think I would be if I'm telling you what happens when you have a life of you, that I would be doing something other than that?
Right.
That's insane.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I tell people the truth and how I have a right to be able to say it.
Yeah.
There is a life after death, and I defy anybody. I defy anybody that will come at me, and I will break them of the habit.
Yeah, you know why? Because when you're in that space, you're producing a lot of delta waves.
Just wait for their intention.
Yeah.
All you wait for is, what is your goal?
Yeah.
What's your intention? It's all right if it's a good enough intention, it'll be okay that I lose.
Tell the people, you know, anything else you want to share, anything that they just your heart is flowing with, and then how can they find you, your website or whatever it is, how you want people to discover you and the name of your books. And also, people don't know that there was a movie about you that was like rated number 1.
Second highest rated television movie in history, and now it's a Turner movie classic.
What's it called?
It's called Saved by the Light. In those days, Michael, I was fighting the battle for the souls of humankind, and when I saw Raymond, I went to see Raymond.
Raymond Moody.
And Raymond had been broken. The scientific community, the doctors, the philosophers, everybody had beaten him back about the NDE. Okay. And I went and saw him, and I realized all the people who are out there who've had this experience, who had nowhere to turn. I mean, I had nowhere to turn. And I was lucky enough that Raymond lived 13 miles from me.
Mm-hmm.
I met Raymond in the early days but before his book was published.
Right.
Okay. And I thought about all those people out there that this happened to them and they had nowhere to go. They couldn't tell their preacher. They couldn't tell their doctor. They could, everybody in the family thought they were crazy because I went through it.
Right.
My family rather me be that prick that I was than the person they were watching me become, because they had no way to watch me struggle to get up. And it took me 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself. And it was horrendous. It was horrendous. And, every time I go through these things, it's not like a cakewalk. Right. I mean, I don't have a little easy near-death experience. I mean, I have some serious. And so anybody can find me at lightstreamers.com. Mel hosts the whole history, everything you want to know. You keep up. All the books are there. I have 2 new books, 10 Things to Know Before You Go, which is coming out. And I'm writing a new one now called Certainty. guaranteed and inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about one day you'll stop breathing. And I want to know what you think about that today.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm going to teach you not to be afraid of death because it doesn't happen, then I'm going to confront everything that you think keeps you from it.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What is guaranteed, certain, and inevitable?
Mm-hmm.
That you will let go of this level of consciousness because you have X amount of breaths here. People do not understand the timing, Michael, and the precision of the unfoldment in this dimension is per breath of the population of this earth. And if you lessen the population, you can control the nature of breathing. And if you instill fear, you can control and separate physical beings from their spiritual identity.
Right.
That's the goal.
Right.
So,
we're assisting in having people breathe in gratitude and thanksgiving as a way of life that we can bring heaven to earth right now. Lightstreamers.com.
Yep, lightstreamers.com. And I have a breathing course called Flashpoints. And I take stuff from the books and I put them up and I create intentions per week, Michael. It's called Flashpoints, like lightning.
Right.
And if you start from the beginning, you'll see that I'm setting up a way to breathe gratitude and intention by a system that comes out every week.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm really proud of the Flashpoints.
Our Native American brothers called you the lightning shaman.
Yeah, Iapu.
Iapu, the lightning shaman.
Yeah. Well,
hey,
they have that same name for you. And it's always, Michael, it's always a joy to spend time with you. Remember when I would be through a tough transition, I'd come to church.
Yeah.
I'd come to Agape. I'd get in the car and come down to Agape because I could sit among those songs and I could sit among the feeling of what you were going and watching you get up on your tiptoes and watch that information being transmitted in that audience. And it would help me let go of the strain I saw doctors, nurses, and family members go through as another one of my brothers and sisters headed home.
Right.
So I thank you for that. And for everybody that's out there that's listening to this, I love you with all my heart. And I hope one day I get to put my arms around you and hold you like my baby.
Oh. Brother, this has been great. This has been Dannion Brinkley with me today. Lightstreamers.com. Check out all the things that he has in store for us. Good brother, this has been great. Obviously, we will talk soon.
I look forward to it.
We're both on the same team of taking back the mind and heart and soul to be exclamation points for the eternal.
But
Peace.
Michael, we would just be a bunch of unemployed dragon slayers if they weren't trying to control and manipulate the divinity in each of our brethren.
Absolutely. But we're stronger than all of that.
No doubt.
Peace and blessings. I'll talk to you soon. Have a bright day. Live long and prosper.
Thank you, sir. Well, hey, it won't be long, but it will be prosperous. Love you, Michael.
Be long enough. Bye-bye.
See you later.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Peace and blessings, and welcome back to Take Back Your Mind. The key is meditation. You've heard Dannion Brinkley and I speak about gratitude, thanksgiving, appreciation, which is a high frequency, it's a high vibration that opens ourselves up to the zone of the miraculous. When we stabilize gratitude, not merely being grateful for the things that we can see, the things that we have, but just developing an attitude of gratitude, we open up ourselves to the possibility of that which is beyond our present paradigm, our present way of thinking, to begin to emerge through us. We either re-enchant our imagination or it moves us beyond the imaginal realm into the unknown. Something I said recently at Agape is On a daily basis, you may want to say something like this to yourself. I'm willing to reunite with that part of myself that dwells in the unknown. I'm willing to reunite with the part of myself that dwells in the unknown because I already know what I know, but I don't know what I don't know. So if we're willing to go into the unknown, that's where the goodies are. How do we do that? One of the ways is through gratitude. So let's take a moment of meditation. Just stop and become still. Remember the pillars? Stillness, silence, and solitude. Let us become still. Take your hands, put them in your lap facing upward as a sign of receptivity. Be still. Silent. Quiet. Begin to feel that you're in a vibrational fortress of solitude. Just you and the presence. In the presence, through, and as you. Take back your mind and place your attention on anything at all to be grateful for. Something that your mind may say is minuscule, small, or something that you may feel is something very impressive, very magnified, very big, doesn't matter. Anything at all. It is the quality of the feeling that's important here. Feel the frequency of gratitude. Say to yourself, I am grateful for my life. I am thankful for the gift of life that has been given me. Now allow your attention to embrace the feeling of gratefulness. And allow your attention to stabilize around this feeling of gratitude right now. Be still, be grateful. Put a slight smile on the face. Let every breath that you take be a breath of gratitude and thanksgiving. Don't rush into the future with anxiety or anxiousness. Be right here with every breath the body temple is taking. And let every breath be a spiritual talisman for gratitude and thanksgiving. It is from this awareness that we declare and we decree that this day is full to overflowing with the miraculous, the eternal as love and abundance and beauty and intelligence, breaking into time as our very life and being on the slipstream of gratitude and thanksgiving. We give thanks for these precious moments, and we allow it to be so. And so it is. Amen, Amen, and Ashe. So be it. Thank you all for tuning in. appreciate your letters and emails that you've been sending in, not only for the life question of the week at podcast@michaelbeckwith.com, but also the notes you're sending on the Instagram and on the website, thanking me for Take Back Your Mind. And I thank you for your support. As I've said before, if you want to support Take Back Your Mind, support the sponsors. The main sponsor is the Agape International Spiritual Center, agapelive.com. We have a Facebook presentation, an Instagram presentation, a YouTube presentation, and a website presentation. You can donate to the sponsor at agapelive.com. It's one way that you can donate. It supports the podcast. Second sponsor is Nutrarise.com. You go to Nutrarise.com, those 3 lines up at the top, you touch that line, and you'll get Adaptozen. Adaptozen are my products. The Super Green Superfood Greens and the vitamin D3 K2. Both extremely good for your health, your nutrition. You support the sponsors, you're supporting the podcast. Have a beautiful, and as I like to say, a bright day, luminous day, because you are a luminous being. Peace and blessings. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in taking back your mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind, and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.